The Nettie and Nancy Show, where we're going to talk about recovery and real estate and anything in between. The Nettie and Nancy Show.
Welcome everybody to the Nettie and Nancy Show.
Hello.
Hope you're all doing well. This is episode 6, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Well,
it's 7.
We probably had a few more
yeah.
in there somewhere, so we'll see what happens.
So today we have a special guest, Adam Waldman. He's one of our in-house lenders here at KW. Mm-hmm. And there's all his
information.
Right
yes.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're glad you wanted to join us.
Yeah. You have a good thing going. It's pretty fun.
Thanks. We're having fun. We are.
Yeah.
So we wanted to have you today to maybe, tell our viewers what's going on with the market. Seems like a lot of buyers are afraid to jump into the buyer pool right now because they keep hearing horror stories that, oh my God, rates are 8%. My mortgage payment's going to be $3,300 a month. And they think that it's a bad time to buy. And my thinking is it's the complete opposite. It's not true. Like, it's the best time to buy. There's not as much competition, and lenders have special programs, and buyers or sellers sometimes will give a little bit of seller assist, and there's just so many things we can be creative. So sorry, I didn't mean to jump in there.
I think you're exactly right. I think it's a great time to buy for those reasons. I don't have control over interest rates. I don't. The buyers don't. But the buyers always have control over what their payment will be. They choose that. They choose the house. They choose the down payment. They choose the interest rate. I don't know where the rates will be when they want to lock in, but they choose all of that. If the house that they have chosen allows for a down payment that gives them a loan, that gives them the payment that they want, great. If it doesn't, you got to move on to the next house. It's about the payment. It's not about the rate. Mm-hmm. The payment is what shows up every month. The interest rate goes away. The concern, the furor about interest rates, it goes away after you buy, but the payment's going to keep showing up, and the payment is what you have to be most comfortable with. And that's really what I try to focus on when buyers call me in that panic. We are at 8%. Mm-hmm. It is what it is. The Fed's doing their job. I heard a great thing on CNBC this morning. The Fed's job, think about trying to do this. The Fed is trying to steer this car. And they're using information from 3 months ago, 6 months ago. That's the data. They're very data dependent. So they take the data and they decide what to do with monetary policy. And there's always a lag to that data. So they're trying to steer this car through the rear view mirror, and they're trying to make the turn 3 miles down the road.
That sounds like a nightmare.
It's near impossible. So the Fed always gets, everybody gives them a hard time. They don't have an easy job, and we don't have control over it. Mm-hmm. So it is what it is. So your job is a matchmaker for a buyer and a house. And my job is a matchmaker for a buyer and their loan and the payment.
Payments, yeah. When I bought my first house, when we bought our first house, my ex-husband and I, it's 8.5%. And everyone says, well, yeah, but the house was only $105,000. And my rebuttal to that is, yeah, but we were making a third of the income that people are making now.
Yeah.
And we didn't have $800 a month car payments. I mean, that's crazy to me that people are driving around. No offense to anyone that does have an $800 car payment. God bless you. Mm-hmm. We had used cars, and we didn't have all this these fancy schmancy cell phones in our hands and the technology. It's expensive. So my thing is, where can you cut up to my buyers sometimes is where can you cut back? There has to be something you can cut back on. I mean, do you need to drive a $800 a month car? I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah.
I'm frugal.
Well, when you said earlier that the buyer chooses the interest rate.
Or the payment.
Well, they choose the interest rate when they lock in. They can say, yes, I just locked somebody in. Their choices included an 8% 0.30-year fixed. That's where rates are today. I know you told me not to bring stuff, but I didn't want to rely solely on my sparkling personality. So I have a couple of different.
No, I'm glad you brought these graphs.
So This is a 1-year interest rate chart.
1 year.
1 year.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't look awesome.
Mm-hmm.
This one is the scary one. This is where rates were 3, and now they're not.
Right.
But this is the one
Right.
where
really
it brings it back into reality because
Sure.
yes, this is a steep climb, and that's what everybody's scared about, the steep climb. How far is it going to go? I think we're nearing the top. But I've been wrong trying to gauge where interest rates were going. I don't think that we're going to go much higher than here because we're in a dangerous spot. We're feeling the effects of the higher interest rates in the business world and employment, et cetera. So I think we're nearing the top of that interest rate hike cycle. But like I said, if you are able to find the house for the buyer, and then they come to me and get pre-approved and they can be comfortable with the payment based on their financials, we're good. And then in 2-3 years, when rates have fallen back down to what might be considered the norm, it's really not. We're probably at right around the norm if you do the averages over many years, 50-ish years. We're probably really close to the norm or the average. But we do expect rates to fall back down into the, certainly below 6, maybe below 5. So maybe in that 5% range,
I
low
feel like
fives.
they always do a little bit. It's just the way it is. You just have to ride it out, I guess. Yeah.
5.25 is, from what I hear, 5.25 is the inflection point, where if and when rates fall down to that range, mid to low 5s, that's going to push all of the buyers that have been reluctant to sell, all of the sellers reluctant to sell into the market, because now they're saying, right now it's hard to get somebody off the fence when they're at 3% on their current loan.
Or even 4, or even 5.
Yeah.
Even. It's hard to get them.
So rates, now that they know where rates can go, when we get back down into that mid to low 5s, that's when they're going to consider selling. So now we're going to have inventory, more inventory. We're going to have the buyers because the rates have fallen. That's going to be the sort of the 2021 version of whenever that is. That's going to be in the 2020, late 2024-ish, 2025.
So
maybe.
This just popped in my head. I feel like, do you think it's better to buy now at 8%? When there's not a huge buyer pool right now? More buyers have pulled out of the market, okay?
Yeah.
And I feel like there's not as many buyers that are out there trying to buy the same house. Even 8 months ago, we had 13 offers on one house and $40,000-$50,000 over asking. I mean, I'm still seeing that on some of my listings. But I feel like if the rates do go back down to 5, now here comes every buyer and their mother, and it's just we're going to have bidding wars again. You're going to pay more for the house. You might as well buy it now, make it work, make that monthly payment work for you, right? For as long as you can, until the rates go back down. It's just my thinking. I'm just trying to be logical, rational about it, I guess.
Yeah, and it's dependent on that buyer. If they're renting right now, what's the interest rate on rent? 100%.
Yeah.
You're paying somebody else's mortgage.
Yeah. And it's a lot of money. Rents have increased
Yeah.
substantially.
Yeah, housing affordability has everything related to housing affordability has gone up. Rents, rates. So yes, I totally agree that getting into the house that you want, that's the key. You guys, as hard as your job is, and you don't have an easy job.
Thank you.
But
They think we just open doors.
right. But when you find the house for that buyer, win. It's a win. And then we get them into the house, and then we can figure out the financing. That whole marry the house.
Marry the house, date the rate, or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that got played out a little bit too
Yeah.
much. But it's the concept is that the financing piece is temporary. We can reconfigure, we can fix it, we can refinance it. All of that's fixable. Make it about the house, make it about the payment.
Can you tell us a little bit about the buy down
Yeah,
options?
Good question.
yeah. Well, I'll do it in two ways. So the buy down is a seller assist. So you have a listing that you anticipate might sit or that is sitting. You can offer a seller assist used to buy the rate down as a temporary buy down, and you can do it as a temporary or as a permanent. But I think you're asking about the temporary buy down. And they come in various different forms. There's a 3-2-1 buy down. There's a 2-1 buy down. There's a 1-1 buy down. So what we're talking about is getting the rate in some cases 3% lower than the market for the first year, 2% lower for the second year, 1% lower for the third year, and then it goes back to the current market rates. That is funded by the seller.
Is that lower by what the rate is at the time of signing the agreement, or what?
Remember, the buyer gets to choose when they lock in. So when they choose to lock in, if they were to lock in today and the rate was 8% today with 0 points, they could, in theory, get a 5% rate for the first year, 6% rate for the second year, 7% rate for the third year, and then for the fourth on, it would be the market rate of 8%. If they were to refinance, so that, let's say it's a $10,000 cost to a seller for the temporary buy down product for the buyer. If the buyer has only used 2 years out of that period of time, whatever credit is left over can be used on their payoff when they refinance. So
It is. It makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad that these mortgage companies have gotten very creative as the rates started to go up, and we can offer these options to our clients.
Well, speaking of that, this literally came out late yesterday. The first I've seen it. It's Lock It, List It.
Okay.
Brand new product that we're putting out there. Same or similar concept. You can lock in an interest rate today. You, the seller, on your house.
On your listing.
On your listing for the buyer that eventually buys, thinking that rates continue to rise, you've locked in the interest rate before they've risen. So you've protected them from that increase.
Okay.
There's a cost, but it's similar to a temporary buy down. And it's just now coming out. So it's a 30-day lock that gets extended once the buyer buys or is under contract to buy. They then go get that loan. So we're constantly thinking about, here's this market that everybody is afraid of. Let's make it a little bit more palatable so that buyers can buy at a payment that they're comfortable with.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Are
I'll be talking to you after this for more information.
Yeah, sure.
there any programs out there for like first-time home buyers?
Yes, yeah. The woman that I locked in before I came in here is she's a first-time buyer, but she makes too much money to fit into the normal first-time buyer programs. So there is a program that allows for higher income, and she gets benefits. She also has great credit, so she's kind of the perfect buyer. But she gets benefits from that because her income doesn't exceed 100% of that area median income. But there's also programs, PHFA. PHFA is right now still well below the market, under 7% on a 30-year fix. So they're a little over 1% below the regular market. Income caps that you have to pay attention to, sales price of the home
I think
caps.
that's important to note because a lot of my buyers, they think there's free money because they're first-time home buyer, and they don't realize that there's income caps. And there's a credit score that you have to have also. So, they think that just because they're a first-time home buyer, someone's going to give them $10,000, and it's not the case. And I always say you have to talk to my lender. You have to talk to our lender. You've got to. He can tell you all the different options because it's not that simple. If it was that simple, everyone would be buying a house, right? So.
Yeah, I think that does get lost because they're based on need. First-time buyers historically have had needs that established buyers don't have. They don't have money most of the time. That's the issue.
They don't have money saved for the closing costs.
Right. So there is grant programs that allow them to access that money. There are second mortgage programs that they can use to access assets that can be used for the down payment and closing costs. But if they make a pile of money every month, where's
not fair.
Where's the need?
Right.
Right.
So. Exactly.
So when someone calls you to start the process, like what can they expect when someone calls you? If they haven't never bought a house before, it's been a long time since they bought one last.
Yeah, I tend to slow things down because I probably sense the measured pace that I present information.
I appreciate that.
I explain that the three main hurdles to everybody that is not familiar with the buying process: credit, income, and assets. You need a certain credit score to access certain programs. If you have a credit score that is acceptable to those programs, then you move on to income. And income includes employment and employment history, the type of income you get. If you just started a 1099 position, you're probably renting for a bit. Same thing with commission or bonus. If you need the commission and bonus, we might not be able to use that if you don't have a history of getting it. So credit, income, and then assets. And assets is simply, do you have the money necessary to buy this particular home? And that might depend on the program. It might be a USDA loan where you don't need any money down. You only need to cover the closing costs. But maybe they're getting a seller's assist, so they might not need money to get into the house at all. Or they're a vet.
It's also income. There's a cap on your income
There's
for
a cap.
USDA.
Yeah, it's a very generous cap, but
I feel like it just it rose a little bit.
It does.
Didn't
They look at that annually, and they look at the cost of living increases, and they factor that into the income caps.
Yeah, and then certain neighborhoods don't qualify for USDA. So I've actually had a neighborhood where, and this was in Pottstown. One side of the street did not qualify. The house was across the street, on the other side of the street, and it qualified.
Yeah.
So bizarre.
Yeah, it's about the per capita population. Yeah, like we're near Route 29. As we go down closer to Phoenixville, go down the hill, you won't need a USDA loan if you're buying in Rivercrest, but Rivercrest is an eligible area.
Yeah.
Really?
Montclair isn't. And Phoenixville Borough isn't. It's about the number of people in a square mile. So, like Pottstown Borough is not. But if you go across the river, Pottstown in 19465 is eligible. So,
interesting.
Well, thank you so much, Adam. Where can our viewers find you?
Here is an option. Yeah, rate.com/Adam Waldman. My cell phone number is 484-686-7529.
Okay.
Reach out anytime.
Awesome.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Adam.
Thank
We
you for having me.
appreciate you.
Appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The Nettie and Nancy Show, where we're going to talk about recovery and real estate and anything in between. The Nettie and Nancy Show.